Hi friends, welcome to my study. I am Vipin Anand.
Let's talk about communication today. What is communication? Communication is nothing but the sharing of ideas between people. Now, it is the sharing of information at workplace, anywhere in your life. Now, what is the basic criteria for communication? For communication to be comfortable and colorful, you need a very clear and good vocabulary. Now, when it comes to vocabulary, what is vocabulary? Vocabulary is nothing but the collection of words with which you speak, write, and communicate confidently without any mistakes. Now, when you come to communication and when you come to vocabulary, how do you enhance your vocabulary? Now, a good vocabulary means a smooth communication. Now, for a vocabulary to be precise, you need a good collection of words. Now, from where do you collect your word, or how do you power up your word armory? Now, for that, you need to have a good look at the papers, magazines, movies, social medias. It goes on like that. Now, how is the process done? Now, when you read a paper, always keep a dictionary and a thesaurus by your side. And when you come across a new word, you write down the meaning, write down a sentence, note for the pronunciation. By the end of the day, you will be confident enough with maybe 10, 20 or 30 words. At the end of the month, you feel confident with more than 300 words. Now, when the collection of words increase, you become more and more confident, and that confidence gives you the power to communicate comfortably. That is one thing. So communication is totally related to vocabulary. A good vocabulary is the basic of good communication. Now, what are the basics of communication, or basics of communication skills in English? Now, simply saying, they are reading, writing, speaking, and listening. These are the basic communication skills necessary for effective communication. Now, in any environment, particularly the workplace and your daily life. Now, when I ask you something, how can you improve your vocabulary and communication skill? That is a question everybody asks. Now, I am taking this session on behalf of my study app. Now, as I said, how can I improve my vocabulary and communication skill? Now, the first thing is read. You have to be a voracious reader. Read as much as you can. Okay. Now, keep a dictionary, as I said earlier. Keep a dictionary or a thesaurus by your side. Now, you can use a journal. Then, learn a word every day, religiously. You can learn a number of words every day. Then what? Of course, in order to avoid monotony, you can go for some word games also. Now, the second thing, coming back. Now, that is the basic thing, as I said. Reading, writing, speaking, and listening are the basics of communication. Now, improving your vocabulary, you can go for reading, writing down the words, looking for its meaning, and writing down it on a notebook and taking it as a collection. By the end of the day, end of the week, end of the month, you will be confident with a number of words. That confidence will give you the smoothness to communicate easily. Now, what are the benefits of good communication skills in English? Have you ever thought of that? There are so many benefits of good communication skills in English. Now, first benefit is being friendly with others. A person with a very good communication seems to be very friendly with others. He can be very friendly with his colleagues, other people, everywhere, in his workplace, in his daily life activities, everywhere. The next thing is about career development. Now, communication skill helps in career development. Then comes teamwork and collaboration and collaborative attitude. You stay informed and updated with your good communication. Remember, it develops professionalism in your daily activities. Communication skills are important for students in social networking also. Now, the improvement in presence of mind and memory is something else to be noted. And good communication skill is proof of a well-educated person. How to develop, use and improvise language skills. Now, how do we do that? Now, there is always a way of doing things. Now here, let me tell you, watch movies in English. Watch a lot of movies in English. It may seem simple and it may look very simple, but let me tell you, it is something very interesting and very effective to learn English. Watch a number of English movies. Immerse yourself in English language news. Now I'll explain it later, but let me tell you the headings now. Now, as I said earlier, you can start a vocabulary book for yourself. Have conversations in English. Practice. Now, as the saying goes, curiosity killed the cat. But let me correct it. Curiosity doesn't always kill the cat. Because if you're curious, you ask questions and you move along. Don't forget to have fun while learning. Now, one thing is, effective communication skills are the fundamental to success in many aspects of life. Don't forget that. Now, many jobs require communication skills, very strong communication skills. People with good communication skills usually enjoy better interpersonal relationships with friends, with family, in the office, in the workplace. There is no doubt on that. And it's a two-way process. Communication is a two-way process. It involves receiving as well as giving. Let me tell you about something. How to improve your English speaking skills. Now, I'm going to make all these activities as simple as possible. I don't want to make it more professional or more hardy on you. Let's make it very simple. Now, the first thing I'm going to tell you is you can always find an English speaking conversational partner. Let me read out the headings first. 2. Make sure to listen to as well as speak. That means you have to listen, at the same time you have to speak. Record your conversation practices if you can. Surround yourself with English language. Practice with movies and music. Read aloud. Talk to yourself. Now I'll explain. Don't be confused. Now, the first thing is, as I said, find an English speaking conversation partner. Now, what do you mean by that? You can always go for a native speaker as a conversation partner. Find a native speaker to practice with. At the same time, you can join clubs or volunteer organizations. That can be a great way of learning and speaking English. Now, the extreme thing you can do is you can hire a private tutor. Now, what happens when you converse with a native speaker? You become more free and you let off your language steam. Now, what happens there? When practicing with a native speaker, try to balance your listening and speaking. Then what happens? Prepare your questions in advance so conversation will flow back and forth. Got it? Now, if your partner asks you a question and you answer at length, and you can always turn the questions back. Now, when you are having a session with your partner and he asks you a question, you ask him a question, and the process goes on. And when that goes on in a smooth way, you learn a lot. Now, what happens? For example, what do you think, or what about you? You can ask your questions back to your conversation partner. Okay? Then, what is the next? As I told you, recording is a great way to learn English or improve your speaking skills. What happens there? Now, recording gives you a maximum benefit from conversation. When you listen again and again, you can evaluate your pronunciation and notice areas where you need to improve. Now you can look up to your mistakes, you can look up to your pronunciation pattern, and you can correct it as it goes on. You can also review the content of the communication. Take notes on new vocabulary or misunderstandings and prepare questions for the next. Now what happens there? Recording is a great way actually. Now when you do your recording, what happens is you can correct your mistakes, correct your pronunciation, and you feel interested in the procedure. Now another way to improve your English speaking is immerse yourself in English. Now how do you do that? Now watch movies, TV shows, now with subtitles of course. Now watch it over and over again. Now most find that they understand more and more each time you watch it. Now listening helps you and it becomes familiar with rhythms and intonations of English. Once the sounds are familiar, imitate it. Now I'll repeat it once again. Immerse yourself in English. Now what does that mean actually? It means that watch movies or TV in English with subtitles. Music is one of the best tools for learning English and pronunciation. Listening to and singing songs will help to remember vocabulary and phrases. Now do that religiously and you get involved with all those activities. And when you listen to music and you sing along with that, you learn the vocabulary, you learn the rhythm, and you learn the pronunciation. That is something which you have to take care of. Now, songs will help to remember vocabulary and phrases, and it will help you to learn to pronounce English in a natural way. That is also very interesting and very easy to follow. Movies are a better choice for learning English. You learn vocabulary, idioms, slang, pronunciation, and listening by watching movies. Next, reading aloud. Now we know that when we read aloud, we hear ourselves. Now you can always concentrate on your words, pronunciation, and your mistakes also. It's a great way to practice speaking when there is no conversation partners around. Now when you don't have anybody to talk to, when you don't have a conversation partner to speak to, you can simply read aloud the material in your hand. Now what happens there? Now reading aloud helps to focus on pronunciation and pacing. Make sure to practice with materials you can understand. That means don't go to unfamiliar grounds. Practice with familiar subjects. Most important, you can check your pronunciation. Now the last thing is talk to yourself. Saying your thoughts out aloud. Now that creates a lot of confidence in you. Now narrating your actions can be a very effective way to practice spoken English. Now let's go to how to improve your writing skills. Now we spoke a lot about your speaking skills. Now we are going to how to improve your writing skills. Now when come to writing, now expand your vocabulary. Now without expanding your vocabulary, you cannot go in for a smooth writing skill. Now to express yourself clearly, you need a good and active vocabulary. Now master your English spelling clearly. Now, without that, you cannot take your next step. Now how do you do that? You must know how to spell the words correctly. That is one thing you have to do religiously. Read regularly. People often say that we learn to write by reading. That is an old saying. Improve your grammar. Now, expand your vocabulary, I told you. How do you do that? To express yourself clearly, you need a good active vocabulary. Now, that's not just being able to recognize lots of words. It means actually being able to use them correctly. So, simply recognizing words is not enough. You should have the capacity to use it properly. Then, do this by learning new words with example, sentences, not just word list. Now you can go for sentence learning also. Now when you learn a new word, try to learn with all forms of that word and the prepositions. I'll repeat it once again. When you learn a new word, try to learn all the forms of that word and the prepositions. Master English spelling. Now that is very important in learning English writing. Now you must know how to spell those words correctly. Incorrect spelling changes the meaning of your sentence. I'll repeat. You have to learn to spell the words you learn, because incorrect spelling can lead to the meaning of the sentence going wrong. Example, bear and bear. Now, B-A-R-E, bear is naked. B-E-A-R, bear is an animal. So if the spelling goes wrong, the meaning also goes wrong. So you should be aware of that. Then again, incorrect spelling makes it difficult to the reader to understand what you have written. So always be confident and correct with your spelling. Next point is read regularly. Now, how do you do that? People often say that we learn to write best by reading. Now, a person develops his vocabulary by reading. Reading in English is useful in many ways. Now, it is a great way to get an idea of the different styles of writing, how to use words appropriately. Choose books and articles with topics that interest you. Learning shouldn't be boring. So always remember to choose topics or subjects which interest you. Now, read each text several times to make sure you understand how to use new words and expressions in the text. Next thing is improve your grammar. Now, you should be sure with your grammar. Grammar is very important because it improves the quality of your writing. Always use the appropriate tense and remember to use punctuation. Punctuation is a great way to make your writing clear and fluent. Always proofread your writing twice. Look for mistakes. Now, how to improve your writing skills? We said expand your vocabulary, master your English spelling, read regularly, improve your grammar, things like that I said. Now, all these things have to be coordinated and done religiously. Now, next thing is, we have discussed so many things. Now, finally, you put all your interest into all these activities and just do it. Writing can be daunting. Now, when you come to practice with the reality, writing can be tedious and daunting. However, the best way to improve is get a pen and paper and sit in front of your computer and actually write. Sit there, put your thoughts, put your mind into it and write. What happens? Be prepared to write several versions of each text, because even for professional writers, the first draft is never perfect. What do you mean by that? Now, when you give your best shot, when you give your try at the first time, it may take some time to clear up. It may take some time to correct and clarify. Remember, practice makes perfect. So get started. Make sure you're clear on the concepts you are writing about. What do you mean by that? Before writing, take a moment to explain mentally the concept to the 6-year-old who lives in your head. Convince yourself what you are going to explain, what you are going to deliver. If the message is complex, outline it. Anticipate your reader's questions. Put yourself in the reader's shoes. Now, don't over-explain everything. Don't do that. Now, give the readers just enough to understand. Eliminate filler words and phrases. Some words show up all the time, but they contribute nothing but, odd colors. They simply add colors, but they contribute nothing but clutter. Eliminate filler words and phrases. Some words show up all the time, but they contribute nothing. They add color. They contribute nothing but clutter. Okay? Now, stick with simple words. Always stick with simple words. Keep your language simple and direct. Keep your sentences simple, short, less complicated. Sentences are easier to read. Always remember that. Keep that in mind. Infuse your personality into your writing. Always remember that. Infuse your personality into your writing. Be yourself when you write. The more you write, edit and proofread, it is the better. Now the final thing is, you go for a good practice.